Here's a little story about what was, what is, whatever. Good morning, Mr. Conway. Got your first fish? Darting around, swimming against the glass. They should usually swim against the glass, especially if they're alone. If he's eating, I mean, can't complain about that. Did you quarantine him? He could be having a slight bladder problem from getting into a higher salinity too quickly. Make sure you top it off regularly and gently, a little bit at a time. Try bringing the salinity down just a little bit, might be helpful. But like I said, a Celeris versus a Trupercula, you have a much greater sensitivity to changing from one tank to the next. Oh, so speaking of fish tanks, before I get into other conversational topics, my rose bubble got sucked into a power head. He isn't breathing hard. Well, if he's not breathing hard and he's eating, he's probably doing okay. Is he flashing against anything? Does it seem like he might have a parasite? Oh, no, I got it in time. There's just like a little bleached nub left, basically. The anemone actually survived. Here, I'll take you to it. I don't know how much longer it's going to last, because like I said, I've been unable to feed these fucking tanks. But it is... shit. It is right there. That is it. Right there. Yeah, that's it right there, for sure. And yeah, not a very good view. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Look at that, just horrible. Look at that. Oh. Still alive though, closed up, photosynthesizing. Hi, Bubbles and Doom. Good morning. Look, it clobbered this fucking thing. You can see that bottom edge got bleached. Fucking hair algae. This with the coral, I got these two different species of hair algae, and of course the chlorpa that took over from Rick's, and it just fucking amazes me how quickly this particular strain of hair algae will just regrow in giant tufts. I'm trying to think, has it been even a week since I harvested from right there? Holy fuck, that's a lot of fucking hair algae. The Duncans are doing really good. Monty's all doing really good. Hollywood Stunner, of course, you know, it fucking got clobbered by an anemone and it barely cared. My Turbinaria is still hanging on. It's actually attached to the rock now. After fucking a year or two. I don't know how long it's been. You know, button polyps are button polyps, sponges are sponges. All my Kenya trees and Tonga trees are fucking great. Actually, I got more. You know, everybody's got Kenya tree. Very few people have Tonga tree. So I'm okay with the fact that my Kenya tree isn't growing very well in the big tank. There's just not enough light intensity. But I mean, y'all seen these fucking Tonga trees, right? They're cool. They've just got a different look to them. The brighter you have your daytime lights, the more they green up. It's actually a lot more distinct in person. It's you know, very much Kenya tree colored at the bottom, and then it really gets like pale and green and yellow at the top, and then the polyps tend to get a really nice green to them just on the inside of the polyp. The outside of the polyp is fleshy. But that's gonna be my staple beginner coral, I think, instead of a Tonga tree. I mean, a Kenya tree. I'd really like to have sort of a Veritus. Okay. The word that I'm trying to think of doesn't exist in the English language anymore. Veritusasium or Veritusasium. No, not Veritusasium. That's fucking Veritusasium. I can't hear the middle fucking syllable. So anyways, a scientific study. Yeah, I think that's the modern term for it. Sorry, the fucking barrels of wine moment. I had a barrels of wine moment yesterday. Trying to think of different camera manufacturers. Although it wasn't quite a barrels of wine moment. It was more like a boxes of wine moment. I'm sitting here thinking of different camera manufacturers to try to get to bid on this module I'm designing. Well, Nikon, Canon, Nitto, and like Polaroid. Do they still make them little Polaroids that you can get at the cash register? No, they haven't. They haven't made those for 10 years. I couldn't. How long has it been since I've fucking seen? Anybody remember those damn things? Little fucking disposable cameras. I wonder how much landfill those took up. Fuck. Anyway. So yeah, Polaroid. I'm pretty sure. Fujifilm. Oh, I forgot about Fujifilm. Good Japanese company there. Where's the book? Where's the book? Okay. I thought of Kodak. I suppose I could. I mean, really, it's just a matter of if I can get. Oh, this fucking plant. Oh, I wish I could tell y'all this plant just because it's so damn brilliant. Okay. So there we go. Assist chips, power modules. Where'd it go? Oh, there. Okay, Fujifilm. Although I tell you what, if I can just help Sony out for nostalgia's sake, it would be beneficial to have a working relationship with Sony, because they got some other little patents I'd like to incorporate. Well, just get a sketchbook and start writing shit down. You know what I find? Like, start from the back of the sketchbook and then skip a lot. Kind of like use the force. You know? Like, how do I explain? You kind of like just picture what you're gonna need as far as the spacing between different ideas and how they get developed and the different versions of them and shit, and you know, maybe even leave some blank pages just to make things easier to find, you know. I mean, granted, obviously I eventually fill in my entire fucking sketchbook, but like with this one here, I've got the front section, and I've got like different sections all throughout it with a couple of white pages in between each one. Oh my god, I just keep burping little bits of fucking sweet pepper. Ah, fuck's sake. No, this isn't gonna give you heartburn. Only the fact that it has pepper in it. You know, the word pepper in pepper. It's a sweet pepper that's got the word pepper in it. Therefore, it will give me fucking heartburn. Because I cannot just take a bunch of condiments and put them together and eat them. Like, you know, anyway, then what you do is in the front, once you get like your ideas refined, okay, like You know, like you make different sections, and then say if you run out of shit to draw or actual idea brainstorming type things or lists, try to make a little bullet point summary in front of each section, and then at the beginning make a bullet point summary of all your sections. Do upfolded page numbers. That helps. If you know, make a little ear. I don't know what an earmark is these days, but back in the day, an earmark used to be like how you folded the fucking paper to look like a little ear. And you put a mark on it. Earmark. Oh. If anybody, I don't know. Is there some kind of weird legend that it's from slavery? I don't know. Probably some stupid shit like that. Yeah, the earmark used to be what they put on a slave's ear to make sure that he know he was appropriated. I don't know. That shit wouldn't work. I don't know if you realize that. I'd have cut my fucking ear off in a heartbeat, son. I don't need no damn ear. I got a boat to catch. And tonight I sleep on a bed of titties. What? What you got going? Yeah, it's always very good to, especially as you get older. I find as I get older, the more I need to sketch things, as opposed to just, you know, flawlessly imprinting something into my memory and having it there forever and full mechanical working model like I used to back before all the drugs. Oh. Look at that nasty ass tank. Oh my god, I just don't do any maintenance anymore. It's just horrible. I've been trying to get the kids to catch up on the fucking housework so I can just stand to live where I have to fucking stay. Just trying to clean up my own little fish tank, you know? Anyways, I wonder if there's a way I can sum this up, because this is probably the kind of shit that evil fuckers do all the time. Like that's how good of a plan it is. It has to be what evil people have been doing. Yeah, you ever realize? Yeah. You ever come up with such a good plan? Like, as far as, like, I don't know, government grants or anything like that. I don't want to be too specific. But you realize, wait, this you can do this shit? And then you wonder, is this how all these motherfuckers have been doing it all these years? Son of a bitch. Definitely can't. Okay, step 2. I can't, no. No. Ooh. Step 1. Sure. Government contract. Okay? You see the government doing shit, coastal restoration, whatever it is. You try to come up with a better idea that nobody else is doing, and then and only then do you not necessarily need an existing established company and stuff. Okay? Because there's a lot of different, like the Pentagon, for instance. Okay? They don't do a lot of coastal restoration, but if you're developing something, right? If you've got a completely out-of-the-box, unique idea that's going to save them a lot of money in the near and long term, get that shit in order. Get that shit in order. And then do so. And this is where I think I figured out how the fuckers do it. Okay? And I've been knowing this for years. I just never, like, reverse engineered the process for my benefit. I've just been fucking complaining about it for years. They keep shipping jobs overseas. You know? Now, as far as how to prioritize goes, the difference between a $1 million idea, which is sounds nice, but it's actually, that's $1 million total for an idea to make, is shit. Okay? The difference between a $1 million idea, and that's okay money if you got a lot of different $1 million ideas. Difference between a $1 million idea and a $1 billion idea is whether or not that gets used every day. Whether or not it's something that people need with them every day. Whether it's a, you know, and the same thing applies for multi-million dollar ideas. Anything, you know, that's actually multi-million, like anything that's substantial fucking money. That's not like, oh, I get to like actually buy a house and pay for my kids' college and maybe have a nice retirement kind of thing. That's $1 million. That's 1 million. 1 million ain't gonna go as far as you think unless you're like already 60. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that until I had a wife and kids. There you go. You get something that's used every day, you're probably into the 21 million range. You get something that people just need to take with them every day, you're probably in like the 5 million range, you know? Like my new spare tire. I have a new type of spare tire. I already did this once before, and of course, like every idea that I was unable to do anything about while I was homeless, I gave it to Honda. I gave it to Honda. And yeah, I hate it too. I hate it. It's a horrible idea. It's my idea, but it's horrible, and I apologize. But this will make it better. This will make up for it. In fact, this will be the missing link that means that you will hardly ever have to use that piece of shit that they give you now. Ah, cheers. And my God, it's versatile. Anyways. In fact, I want the company that builds that just so I can build a few other patents under like the same brand. How cool is that, that I've actually managed to come up with different patents, completely different patents, that can all be released by the same brand? Did I mention I can't wait to get started? Anyways, so step one, find out how to fix a problem that the government's having. Okay? Governments have a lot of fucking problems. You got a lot of free time. Figure them the fuck out. Step two, step three, outsource. Oh yeah. Okay, see, it's your idea. You get the bid. Okay? But you need to make your idea something that other contractors and companies can do. You say, okay, if we have this contractor do this, and then this contractor do this, I'll do this, and then, you know, then you start the bidding process. And what you need is like a step-by-step thing, and have like, you know, like a closed bidding type thing in mind, right? Especially considering that everything we're trying to do here is going to be NATO, okay? We're going to desperately try to, like, be the voice of centrism and reason in the future. Okay, that's the main reason for starting this company, these companies. All right, is to be the voice of reason and centrism. Like every time people start getting all fucking weird, we're gonna be the ones to step and say, hold up. There's a lot of people who do that already in a lot of different ways, and that's good. But there's some things that people have been forgetting, isn't there? And not that we need to shove a history lesson down everybody's throat, but there are some basic principles that could use a few more advocates. Well, first of all, it helps to, like, I don't know, get out of your comfort zone every now and again and meet new people and try to make new connections. Every time I do so, just, you know, by the grace of God and for the glory of God, I wind up meeting some profoundly interesting people. Speaking of meeting, I didn't have my meeting this week, and hopefully I'll have it this weekend, but it's Martin Luther King weekend, which it just becomes Martin Luther King weekend when Martin Luther King Day is on a Monday, you know. I don't think it was purposeful. But again, a nice 3-day weekend. And I think the, you know, the real estate people who can be in Florida are fucking in Florida right now, so. Because if I were them, I'd probably be in Florida. Oh, no. I'm really just not big on travel anymore. I spent a long time traveling, and then I got to this one point where I was like, you mean I could just, like, stay here? Really? Nobody's gonna call the cops on me or anything? Like, Magic. Good. It's like fate, isn't it? Having any of them fateful encounters? I've been having them fateful encounters. It's like, you know, just like what I said. No matter what fucking evil governments or little cultists or dumbass troll hackers and shit, no matter what y'all do, there's the amount of power that you can achieve, and then there's the universe. How silly can you be? I've seen the universe win over and over again. Can you hear that special little condensed rain droplet suddenly? I love it when that happens, just for that particular type of feeling that I get. Anyways, speaking of particular types of feelings that I get. Oh. So yeah, step one, figure out a plan, calculate the cost, divide it up into shit that you cannot do and shit that you can do. Take the shit that you cannot do, find the trustworthy companies that can do it, that already do government bidding type shit, and set up a line of things for them to bid on. You know, they're going to need to bid on this, they're going to need to bid on this, and pick out the companies that need to bid on each thing. Like just a, for instance, you know, like power module, like for a power supply, you'd want to have like General Electric and Motorola and like different type of, you know, you want to do some kind of ship navigation system. You know, you might want to have like a bid from Garmin, bid from Intergraph, you know, whoever else fucking does that shit. I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass because I'm not gonna focus on what I'm actually doing. But the new Honda Jet has a Garmin nav system. That's pretty cool. What I mean, like think about how Honda built Honda Jet. Honda did what Honda was fucking good at: making reliable mechanics and hydraulics and shit. They got bearings from fucking Nitto, and they got a nav system from, and you know, like Garmin basically makes complete aviation electronics, not just the navigation system. So Honda put Garmin's shit in there. They gave, you know, they sent Garmin the requirements, okay? And they might have had like a list of requirements and sent them to different companies in a closed bidding process, right? But it's a matter of we need a navigation system that has these dimensions, that can do these things, that hooks up in these ways to these connectors, can talk to these modules, these types of hydraulics, you know, line by line, every little fucking thing. Then, you know, like what I do is I just blurt it all out the first time, and then I'll go through it again and try to space it out and make like a bullet style organized version. And then you come up with the different total jobs, you know? Like, okay, this is all kind of one group of thing, and this is all kind of one group of thing. And then You think, who does that kind of shit best? You have them bid on the shit. I don't even know whether Honda made its own engine. I think they used somebody else's engine. Honda Jet, you know? They just took all the good shit and combined it in a good way. Is my internet off? What the hell? Are we having problems? Should I turn off the other PlayStation? All right, brother. Have fun climbing them hills. A wrestling tournament, huh? Citywide wrestling tournament. Oh boy. Oh, excuse. Oh god, the chili pepper, fucking. Oh. It's just nasty. So, okay, for step 2. You know, step 3 is you know, obviously you open it up and have that fucking bidding process. But step 2 is more of the how do you organize the strategy around that? How do you make it something that you can get involved in, remain competitive while allowing competition without being proprietary? Because if you get too proprietary with something, then you're responsible for creating the entire market. And that's a hell of a responsibility. It's got to be something really viral for that to be possible. And just most things that help aren't, you know? But if you can make something that after a closed bidding process to get it together can then be opened up to other companies, and your company or your idea, your patent, your proprietary aspect or stake basically facilitates that and puts it all together. Maybe it's a licensing thing. Maybe it's a form factor thing. Maybe it's the ring to rule them all kind of thing, you know? But how to have a truly great idea in the modern time is you got to solve a problem in a way that benefits others, while having a plan to keep your stake in it, you know? Because you don't want shit being taken over by some asshole, and, you know, you got bills to pay. But when it comes to anything with the government, what you want is to have a different plan for a closed bidding process and an open bidding process. Okay? So, whatever you supply to the government, that's, you know, the step one plan where everything is itemized, you know what it should cost, you want companies to offer to do it for this much, you know, and you pick out the companies, you vet them ahead of time, you vouch for their national security status or whatever. And whatever you provide for the government, they're the ones who work on those contracts. Okay? But then when you open it up to the public, you have to have a different plan for when you provide this service to the public. Then you have an open bidding contract in which basically you become a consultant, liaison, just a patent holder, whatever. But have a company that owns the patent that has a process of how things, you know, go forward. In this structure, man, it applies to everything from farming tools, tank navigation systems, like fucking whatever, you know, like software, hardware, whatever. You first have a closed bidding process in mind to help the government out directly, and then have a plan to open up that bidding process so the idea can go public without the marketing being all your responsibility. So then you have something that these companies will want to get into because it's already used by a government. And then they're going to try to help the market take off for whatever it is, because they say, oh, look, we can sell this to someone, and if we do a little advertising, we can sell more to these people. Next thing you know, you started a big company without even having owned a small one ahead of time. But the key is you got to come up with a better plan than everybody else. To do that, you got to see the problem. You got to see what people are missing, basically. And these days, well, it's just a golden opportunity for that kind of strategy. Because most people still think of America as the dominant power, or still thinking in terms of arrogance, still thinking just in terribly naive, unsustainable terms. Most people are participating in an economy that doesn't really exist in the Einsteinian sense. It's a fun metaphorical way of looking at it, but it works. Did it ever occur to anyone that financial product is an oxymoron? Whoever's watching, you should give me another like for that. I don't even care if it's a Russian troll. Come on, you gotta respect that. Financial product is an oxymoron. That's fucking poetry. I wish I'd have thought of that. I mean, wait, I did. Ooh, cool. You know, in all my training in Southern and British etiquette, one thing I was never taught is how long is it proper to hold a shit in before you feel like getting up? 'Cause I really don't feel like getting up, but I'm not sure how long I can hold this shit in. Sooner or later, something's gonna give. Either my legs are gonna run down the hallway or something's gonna run down them, so yeah. Not much of a choice. Oh, was that a thunder rim shot? That was a thunder rim shot. Anyways. So, you know, one thing I promised when I first created this channel, one thing that I said would be a test of whether or not I was even me, was whether or not the world would bend into a place that helped prove my case of what truly occurred 2,000 years ago. From Palestine to Thrace. And one of the key points that I think speaks volumes, sort of a key to understanding both today and those times, is that phrase that Antonius, known as Pontius Pilate, or Pilate, I don't know why people say Pilate. It's fucking Pilate. Quem Veritus. Which is a very Egyptian-style Latin phrase. That means, what is truth? Now, in Sunday school and church, I was taught, you know, sure most of us were taught, as though some Roman pragmatist governor was having some sort of religious crisis. Consider instead what typically makes a politician turn to a rabbi or anyone. Political prisoner who he didn't imprison, and say, what is truth? Do you want to know the truth? What is truth? No, I didn't say as much quite so energetically at the time. And I may or may not have had the Jack Nicholson follow-up just queued and waiting. But it would have been cute. You see, back then, just like now, the truth itself was being put into question. Propaganda had just caused the fall of an empire that only sought to protect itself. And since that time, 2,000 years ago, chaos has reigned throughout the world. All except for one little corner. Until about maybe 420 years later. $700 to $1,000 tops. But by 1,000 years ago, even the kingdom of heaven was having its gates stormed. So what is the truth of that time that parallels to this day? The truth is, most people, if not for the fake news of the day, would have wanted Rome restored. Most people, if not for the fake news of the day, would have been proud to see the king return. Most people understood God's connection to the rulers he chose. And understood how to tell the difference between someone who was posing and someone who was blessed. And just like today, the people were ready to see a woman in power. Men had been fucking things up for about a century. But then they conspired to keep that woman from power. Through slander, fake news, and all kinds of assassinations. Just imagine the difference between the story that I've told and the story that you've been told. Consider how these things developed and changed over time. Could they have been adopted later after being dispersed differently? No, these lies developed in real time. That is how history is perverted. It's not a matter of people just simply changing the story later. It's a matter of those people who would be changing the story later having had predecessors who were active in making sure the story wasn't even told at the time. Hillary Clinton just won, but is not being called the president. Mary Magdalene was empress. She was called a whore. Imagine if the Princess of Persia of the House of Akkad married Caesar. Just imagine the claim, the fame. Imagine what might have been. ready for it, and then certainly they were not. However, now it's disappointing because it seems as though I should be able to speak to you as if you were adults. But too many people are just worried about sound bites and snippets, and their own agenda, and presume to understand anything on a level that qualifies them to suppress my truth. Well, let me just remind you once again, I have nothing to fear from your judgment. You have everything to fear from mine. In fact, if you are wise, your judgment of me itself and its effects would terrify you. But alas, it seems as though people would rather pretend to judge their judge and all of humanity and see themselves as shepherds when they are in fact blind. And you, in your blindness, silence the shepherd, blind the flock, and where do you think you're leading them? Straight off a cliff. Boy, the world closed up 2,000 years ago because the blind led the blind off a cliff. And now, there's no world other than that which I've opened up. I'm just not good enough for you. I'm trying to teach you how to take the reins for yourselves. Trying to give you literally everything that you want. And you're like, no! We'd rather just fucking destroy everything. So we can have the most of the nothing that's left. Well, most of nothing is exactly what you're gonna get. Oh, look at that. I guess you get your way either way. Good job. Anyways, it is now 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I have an appointment with the altar of porcelain, in which I will pay great homage. Yes. Anyways, thanks for watching, whoever watches this in the future. Thanks for watching the people that did, and thanks for hanging out. And congratulations on your clownfish, Mr. Salty Shanker there. And I hope he does better. If you haven't done anything else, a good thing, since you didn't get a chance to quarantine him, okay? This right here, Metroplex. See my 10-day cure video. This right here works. This is the only way you can put your fish back into a tank without just leaving it fallow for god-awful amounts of time. See, the 10 days video, let me just make the case for that for people who just don't seem to understand what I was saying there. This is the logic that people who own fish stores wind up getting over time, because you know, quarantining is the best thing for your average user, but when you really buy a lot of fish, quarantining is kind of useless. It's useful and useless at the same time, okay? Here's what I mean by that. It will get rid of some things. And you can get rid of lots of things and then have something else. Especially when it comes to taking something out of your system and trying to leave it fallow. There are, you know, long periods of time required for fallow. And if you don't have fish oil or some water from a tank with fish in it to continue to get that ick or whatever it is out in the tank, it's useless. Brookinella. What's the fallow period for Brookinella? There is none. That shit can just live in your tank. So what's the solution? Get your fishes back healthy in the quarantine. Get them clean physically, symptoms, okay? And then get them full of antibiotics, get the tank full of antibiotics, put them back in the tank, and keep them healthy and fed. Then their immune systems will overcome the ick, Brookinella, whatever it is, after having attracted it. See, the Brookinella will live in a little stack of fish shit until it smells fresh shit, and then it'll flagellate or whatever the fuck it does. But what it doesn't seem to do, from my experience, is remain after fish fight through it. If you get your fish to fight through it once they go back in the tank, if they go in basically immune to it, that's basically what you're doing. You're getting them immune to it in a quarantine, and then putting them back in there and continuing to keep them immune to it. Then 10 days, your fish are back in the tank. 7 days of treatment with formalin or copper to get the cyst off. That must be combined with the tank swap method, or an extreme clean method like I do. But, you know, I've raised fucking larval clownfish, so I really know how to clean a fucking incubator or quarantine. Anyways, so yeah, the truth is nuanced. You know, the truth is, thinking that you could put your fish bank back in a tank after 10 days is a stupid idea. But also, the truth is that if you really think about it, it's actually the best idea. Depends on the situation. Depends on the circumstances. But when everything's said and done, fallow can be a waste of time. Extensive quarantines can be a waste of time. And a serious waste of money. So is the truth of 2,000 years ago that there was a man and a woman who were amalgamized to become what you know as Christ? Or is the status quo story the truth? Which one has led to a bunch of bullshit? Now, picture 2,000 years ago as if Trump beat Hillary, but there was no Mueller probe. Instead of a real Democratic Party and a real Republican Party, you just had Trumpism. Well, if they silence the truth, all that's left is lies. Can you see how there might have been a different result if John and Mary were allowed to live out the rest of those lives and teach and bring the world back together before it fell completely apart? You don't know how together the world was and was still trying to be back then. That's how such large empires were established. People were willing to be ruled for a reason. It was a unity for a greater purpose. And we've forgotten all that. And I just know that the only way to cure this world is to try to remember it all again. But that's what I've been doing on the channel for 3 or so years now. 4 years now. Holy shit. But that's going to be all for today. Until maybe later on. Thanks once again for hanging out, watching, chatting, and learning what you can while you can.